Be starting in a few minutes. Can do a little bit better than that. Good evening, good evening, good evening. All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. We'd like to welcome you all today to our first program called Secure Your Health. We would like to thank you all for coming again. About this program, oh, by the way, I'm Professor Dogan from the Psychology Department. About this program, tonight we are going to be talking about topics covered mental health. We'll be talking about physical and emotional health awareness. We'll also be talking about the promotion of professional development within the female student population. Furthermore, we will have a discussion on positivity, toxicity, and longevity. I have the distinct honor of introducing my little prodigy by the name of Miss Kiana Rogers. Miss Kiana Rogers is the White House All-Star Ambassador for this year. And we have her bio right here, which I'll read. Ms. Rogers is a North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University graduating senior psychology student and entrepreneurship minor, hailing from all the way in Dover, Delaware. Ms. Rogers serves as a 2017 HBCU All-Star at A&T through the White House Initiatives on HBCUs. This program highlights the value of education on minority-serving institutions. Kiana has played many significant roles here on campus. She has made the Dean's List every semester. She has received membership into Alpha Lambda Delta National Honor Society, Psi Chi International Honor Society, as well as Alpha Kappa Mu National Honor Society. She is also an active member in the University Honors Program and the missus of two student organizations, NAACP and NYNJ Connection. In addition, she has worked as a call center representative where she has contacted alumni to raise money for the annual giving campaign. She has acted as a tutor and counselor for the Upward Bound Trio program and currently serves as an academic coach for the Aggie Mentoring program. She has also participated in international studies, studying abroad in Costa Rica for the summer of 2017, and also being an out-of-state first-generation college student. Kiana has been able to leverage the many connections and opportunities that she has thus far. She continuously strives to obtain upward mobility and is adamant about becoming a positive role model for her peers. As the HBCU All-Star, Ms. Rogers would like to evolve, motivate, and impact her HBCU community, specifically HBCU women at large. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce to you Miss Kiana Rogers.
Hello, everyone, and thank you all for coming out to our first program in the Women's Empowerment Series with the Boss Up Initiative. Now, I would like to introduce Miss Maya Fountain with her selection on Encourage Yourself.
Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. And sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, speak the word and you will be healed. Speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. And sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. And no matter how you feel, just speak the word and you will be healed. So speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Sometimes you have to speak a word over yourself. Depression is all around, but God is a present help. Well, the enemy created walls, but remember, giants, they do fall. So speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Oh, as I minister to encourage yourself in the Lord. Oh, oh, oh,
Let's give another round of applause to Ms. Maya Fountain for that beautiful selection. So now I will introduce our host for the evening, Mr. Quincy Dickens. So Mr. Quincy Dickens is a native of Stickerville, New Jersey, and a 2015 graduate from the North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. During his tenure year here at A&T, he was a part of the Blue and Gold Marching Machine from 2007 to spring 2013, and was a 2007 initiate into the Cold Steel Drumline at A&T. He became interim captain in 2009 and head captain from 2010 to the spring of 2013. He is a spring 2013 initiate into the Mu Psi chapter of Omega Psi Phi Incorporated and held the position of vice president of the fraternity from 2014 to 2015. He is a wellness coach and personal trainer and operates his own nutrition and fitness facility called Startup Nutrition and Fitness. He is also a motivational speaker whose message is geared towards uplifting people by not only increasing their physical state, but by helping people improve mentally, physically, financially, emotionally, and spiritually. Welcome to the Boss Up Initiative, Secure Your Health.
Thank you guys for having me here at the Boss Up Initiative. So a little bit about myself. In that graduating semester in 2015, I was vice president of fraternity, still involved with the band, and owned my own events planning company. So I was extremely busy, didn't really have a lot of time for myself, but I started focusing on what I really wanted to do to take ownership of my life, which I think the Boss Up Initiative speaks directly to. So upon graduating, I took myself a little bit more seriously, and I went on to lose 51 pounds, and I dropped 17% body fat and gained 33 pounds of muscle. But more importantly, I went on to become a beacon of light to a lot of people, because I didn't know that a lot of people struggled with different things physically, because the way you see yourself is the way you perceive yourself, and perception is reality. So self-esteem really comes from self, no one else. No one else can make you feel good, no one else can make you feel bad. So I said I needed to get out there and start helping people, become a more positive light in the community rather than doing some of the things that I previously did. So to empower men and women and enhance themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, financially, and spiritually is what I really took on and decided to spread amongst other people. So the Boss Up Initiative to me really speaks on ownership, okay? And ownership doesn't just mean business, but ownership also speaks directly to you taking ownership of yourself. So that's the good, the bad, the right, the wrong. The first step to solving any problem is to recognize that there is one in the first place. Okay, so to figure out your life's purpose, you must become the right person. And in order to bring your dreams into fruition, you must become the right person. So always remember one thing. It is not opportunity's job to be ready for you, but yet it is your job to be prepared for opportunity. Okay, so taking ownership of my actions is what allowed me to open up my own nutrition and fitness facility, and I continue to get out here and try to inspire people the best that I can by becoming a better person each and every day. So that's my goal. Thank you guys for that. So next we'll have the student-led discussion, Trust Your Boss Up, okay, led by two highlighted students. First being Ariel Chavis. Ariel is a senior at North Carolina A&T at Greensboro. North Carolina at Greensboro from Rayford, North Carolina. She began training 1 year ago. Ariel's motivation and drive sparked after the passing of her grandfather. During her grieving period, she dedicated a lot of her time in the gym. While focusing on getting her body into the best shape, more people started reaching out to her about tips on transforming their bodies as well. The love for fitness and their living a healthier lifestyle has always been a priority in her life. From that, a deep passion established, and she shifted her focus to create business to change the perspective of people to live a healthy and fit lifestyle. Currently, Ariel is an advocate for promoting personal development and encouraging other women to love themselves. Her motto is no room for doubt. So let's give it up for Ariel Chavis. And our next highlighted student is Kobe Boone. Kobe Cornell Boone is a senior marketing student from Clinton, North Carolina. He is an entrepreneur, author, speaker, and CEO/founder of Trust Your Journey Incorporated, a nonprofit organization that raises awareness in underprivileged communities of mental health, personal development, and travel. Let's give it up for Kobe Boone. Okay, so first question for you guys. All right? Y'all good? All right, so what led you? You all right? Okay, so what led you to your boss up journey?
Hi, everyone. Hello, everyone. A single yes can destroy 1,000 no's. And I literally walked into my yes summer 2016 while I was in summer school. During that time, I started getting serious about my health, not just physically, but mentally and spiritually. And at the time, I was still coping with the loss of my grandfather and also a very close mentor of mine. And I was still, struggling to find my purpose and what it was that I felt like God wanted me to do with my life. And along the way, I met some amazing people, and those people really helped shape and mold my life for the better. Um, Consistently, I started working out about 5 to 6 times per week. And at first, it became a habit, but then it transitioned for me as a lifestyle. And as it transitioned into a lifestyle for me, it really helped me and motivated me, and it gave me a lot of passion, and I really figured out what my purpose was. And I've always been a very compassionate person from the time that I was born. Like, I love helping people. Anything that I could do to help a person, I will do it. And with this, I was really excited when I started my fitness journey. I started posting just like motivational things for people to inspire them to, start living a healthier lifestyle. And once I started posting my own results, people started coming to me, asking me, inquiring about personal training. And at first it was like a big of a shock because I was just doing it for myself for personal reasons. But then God spoke to me and told me this was what my purpose was. And I started my college career year of 2014, 2015. And initially I did start here at A&T. I did a year here. So I'm always an Aggie, but I transitioned and I transferred and moved to UNCG. And when I moved to UNCG, my purpose of transferring there was to find my passion. And while I was here at A&T, there were a lot of foundational elements that still to this day, like, I'm grateful to have the experience that I did. And with that being said, my business has flourished. I literally completely started from the bottom, and I'm just really, truly grateful for all the opportunities that has came from it. Being that this is going on my second year into the business, I'm really proud of myself and all the people and supporters who have shaped and molded everything.
If you don't mind, could you please repeat the question?
What led you to trust your boss up journey?
Okay. So my boss up journey, I would definitely say started at childhood. One thing my mom definitely instilled in me was a sense of integrity in business and in life. As my journey kind of came about, that starting a nonprofit in undergrad, I have to back up a little bit because I actually made the first T-shirt in 2000, spring of 2015. Me and a close friend of mine just went to the mall and made some T-shirts, and I had a close relationship with my football coach. And he always would tell us, trust the process, trust the journey. And it was something that really resonated with me and stuck in my head. Fast forward another year, I never made another T-shirt. It was kind of a dream deferred, which is a favorite poem of mine. Coming into fall of 2016, I had lost a family member. I lost an uncle to cancer. I lost an aunt to cancer, and I was going through a tough breakup at the time. And a lot of different things that compounded. I was slipping in school. My grades were falling, and literally went to counseling services on campus because I knew I was struggling at the time. And actually, a week later, I attempted suicide for the first time. And from there, you guys, it was for me was such a awakening moment at the time dealing with depression, because a lot of times in our communities we said that we don't go through things, and especially some of the stipulations that I was even taught as a child, being a victim of sexual abuse as well as trauma at a young age as well, things that were compounded and normalized by me as it pertained to my mental health, that men don't cry and we don't have these type of issues. Excuse me. So literally, you guys, 8 months in therapy on a weekly and bi-weekly basis here on campus, just trying to sort my life out and figure myself out. At the time, I was 21 years old. I was an intern with 102 Jams. I was a notable individual and active in a lot of organizations on campus, MC for events, a lot of different things. So I always tell people that depression doesn't necessarily look like what we think it looks like. Sometimes we think it's the young lady or the young guy in the corner that's kind of picked on or talked about that we don't know, but it can be right before you in your own eyes, and it could be smiling at you and not know that person is suffering. So my boss up journey kind of started with a hashtag. So once I completed therapy, I looked at the story of many others, Harriet Tubman, civil rights leaders, and I said, how could these individuals go through so much hardship and still find the strength from within to be able to turn back around and help others? So I decided to turn my platform and that I had into a hashtag. So we started a hashtag Trust Your Journey with a leaf, and a lot of my friends jumped on the wave. My brother was one. And started to post it underneath pictures and monumental moments. Trust your journey, anything, because everybody has a journey. It could be a journey just walking to this building today, depending on how cold it was when you walked up there. So it matriculated and grew over time. Then finally, I had the opportunity to present it as an initiative for an organization. At the time, I didn't know if it would be a nonprofit organization or if it would be a LLC. And Damon John, CEO and founder of Fubu and Shark Tank, actually led me in the direction of saying, this is a wonderful idea. I think you should go the nonprofit route. So at that moment, it was okay. Damon John said, do it, I'm gonna do it. But how am I gonna start a nonprofit with no money? And you guys, that's where bossing up for me became something a little bit more, and understanding that there's a higher deity. There's something that I believe in that will provide when the resources are needed. So it was a long process. We got our articles of incorporation in September of 2017, but I got the idea in April of 2017. And it was a process, you guys. And I always tell people that the process is temporary. A process is from A to B, but a journey is from A to Z. And it's so important and critical within our lives that for every season of your life, every season has an important meaning. There's something that you're meant to grasp within that season that's going to carry you to the next season that you're going to use later on in your life. And if you don't learn those lessons when you are meant to learn them, you'll see your life reoccurring and trying to learn the same thing over and over again. It stems far more beyond just undergrad. We actually received our 501c3 tax exempt status on January 3rd of 2018. It's been such a blessing and an honor to be partnered with James B. Dudley High School, Washington Montessori School is a K through 5 school. So we focus on programs that center, well, with our K through 5, we focus more on programs that center around our young ladies, what's good self-esteem, knowing that they're beautiful, our young men, personal development programs, more than just how to tie your tie, but how to speak. Communication is a very big thing. And we definitely see that as a university when people leave sometimes and they're not prepared for the real world and how to communicate. So we're really excited about what God's doing with the organization. I can definitely say for anybody at the program today who is suffering in silence or has a family member or anyone just going through, just trust your journey. And it's something that goes far beyond a saying, but it's a process, and there's a reason why you're going through what you're going through. And within that battle, just know that what you're going to become outside of it is so essential because you're important to this world. So thank you.
I like how both of you all alluded to the fact that success is not a journey, it's a destination, or it's not a destination, it's a journey, right? So it's always ongoing, and it's great to see both of you all up here and all that you've done and your immense growth in the past few years. So let's give it up for Kobe Boone and Ariel Chase. Okay, so next, our moderator for tonight, Destiny McElroy, will be introducing our keynote speaker, Dr. Gladys Robinson.
How's everyone doing? Excuse me. I'm so glad that you all can show out here tonight. Me and Kiana and the rest of the e-board truly do appreciate your support, and we are so immensely honored that we have the professional panelists and student panelists to come here and join us. And I'm also honored to be introducing the next lady to come up and talk to you all. I met her through my internship with Chamber of Commerce, and so I don't know if you guys are aware of the east side of Greensboro. It's not it's a little impoverished on that side, and so it needs a lot of developing. I met Ms. Gladys at their first family medical center for that community. It was her in that arena. I got to see her impact health arena of this community. So let me go ahead and just introduce to you all North Carolina State Senator Dr. Gladys Robinson. Senator Gladys Ashe Robinson, excuse me if I said that wrong, Deputy Minority Leader of the North Carolina Senate, has been elected for her 4th term in the Senate. She is a Vice Chair of the Guilford County Delegation and is a dedicated advocate for the people of North Carolina, specifically Guilford County. Senator Robinson serves on following legislative communities: appropriations on health and human services, appropriations-based budget, education, higher education, finance, healthcare, and selective committee on nominations. So I'm just going to continue to go through, and I'm going to allow you guys to read on Ms. Gladys. I'm going to skip down to the bottom so she has time to come and speak to you all. Give me 1 second, I do apologize. As a senior woman and member of the Senate, Senator Robinson is a strong advocate for education, small businesses, jobs, women's rights, and ensuring health and quality of life for low-income, minority, disabled, and elderly populations. Senator Robinson was one of the originators of the breast cancer density legislation. She introduced legislation on lupus, which passed the Senate, and she has worked on issues of domestic violence and homelessness, and was a co-sponsor of the statewide Standing Order OPOI 5734 that also passed Senate. Having served on the UNC Board of Governors for almost 10 years, she is the greatest proponent of higher education, historically Black colleges and universities, and the public education system in our state. Locally, she is on the Triad Adult and Pediatric Medicine Board, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, chair of the Bennett College Board of Trustees, Democratic Woman of Guilford County, Lillian's List Metropolitan Council of Negro Women, and a life member of the PTA and NAACP. She was a founder of Guilford Community AIDS Partnership, chaired the High Points AIDS Coalition, and the first Guilford Coalition on Homelessness Committee. Senator Robinson has received many awards throughout her professional career, including 2016 Public Service Award, 2015 Legislator of the Year Award, NC and Administrative Advocacy, 2015 recipient of the Luther Nick Gerald's Advocacy Award, 2015 Southern Health Association Outstanding Legislation Award, 2015 Trailblazer Award for Beautiful Butterflies Lupus Foundation, 2010 Sojourner Truth Rhythms of Triumph Award, 2005 Moses Cone Wesley Long Community Health Award, 2000 Woman of Achievement in Health. And so we would like to, and all that said, Ms. Dr. Gladys Robinson.
Good evening. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens most of us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, you are not to be. You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There's nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in every one of us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we're liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. My Aggie sisters, I was going to say, and brothers. I thought I was talking to women this afternoon. I want to thank Kiana Rogers for hosting this event and this series of events, and for her tenacity and her drive to put together something that is inspiring to the students and the individuals on this campus. I want to encourage her as well, because I understand there are other activities going on campus that prevent some people from attending, but you're here, and that's what's important. So Kiana, you've done a great job, so encourage yourself. I was asked to talk about physical health, mental and behavioral health, but how we as individuals develop as well in terms of personal development. So in a few minutes, I plan to cover a few statistics, but really to focus on the women and how you, my sisters, have God-given potential. And brothers, I'm not leaving you out. It's just that I was directed in that area, so I'll mention you a little bit. Personal development is the process of achieving and expanding your full potential. Another author has said that I am what I say I am. You are your best investment, your mind, body, and soul. You're a composite of physical health, mental and behavioral health, spiritual health, all that enable you to be your very best. And this pertains to men as well as women. Personal development is a journey, not a destination. You must see your life as a journey that never ends until you leave this earth to go home to the Lord. So let's talk about the bad, the not so good statistics on behavioral and mental health. That 1 in 4 college-age adults have a diagnosable mental illness, and I just heard some of them. That more than 40% of college students have felt more than an average amount of stress within the past 12 months. How many of you have felt that? Okay. That 80% of you felt overwhelmed by about all that you have to do, and you've had to do during this past year already. And 45% of you felt helpless. Any of you felt helpless? I know my granddaughter, who is a freshman in Georgia, says, Grandma, this is something. And according to the American College Association 2011 report, depression and anxiety were cited amongst the top impediments to academic success. And for behavioral issues, other behavioral issues is campus sexual violence. 11% of all college students experience rape or sexual assault through physical force, violence, or incapacitation. 23.1% of undergraduate females and 5.4% of undergraduate males experience rape or sexual assault. 4.2% have experienced stalking since entering college. Only 1 in 6 college students receive assistance from a victim assistance agency. And I just heard the young man here talk about having counseling, but a lot of students don't get that support. They don't access the services. Only 20% of female student victims report crime to law enforcement, and the question is, why not? As I told young women the other week at UNC Greensboro, no one has the right to violate you or your body. You must say something when or before it happens. Me Too is more effective when you report the incident in the present tense rather than later. Young women, we must be our sisters' keepers. We must support each other. I'll tell you a brief story about my time at Bennett College in the mid-60s. And I was a junior class president during that time. There was a professor on campus, a white man, and a lot of people went to him for support. And what we realized as student activists is that a lot of young women were being assaulted. They thought he was a friend, but they were going to him for counseling, but he was abusing them. He was using them. And so what did we do as students? We went to the president of the college and said, "You'd better fire him. You had better fire him or else we'll get rid of you." And that man left the campus. You know, what we have to do oftentimes is take control. For the women who don't take control, or the men who don't take control of situations for themselves. So let us talk briefly also about physical health. You only have this body once. You're born and you die. But the dash between life and death says you have the opportunity to take care of yourself. Life is a choice, and living healthy is a choice. I just said it to the moderator a minute ago. I gotta do better about myself. I do exercise some. 13.3% of women aged 18 and older are in fair or poor health. That number increases to 18% of African American women who have fair or poor health. 38.5% of women over the age of 20 are obese. Only 48.1% of women ages 18 and over met the 2008 physical fitness guidelines for aerobic activity. The good news is that the percentage of women aged 18 and older who smoke cigarettes decreased from 36% in 1974 to 13% in 2014. Poor health, my sisters, specifically obesity, is a significant risk factor for chronic health conditions as diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and it leads to early death. All of these are preventable. You can protect your own health. But wait, so all of these are preventable. And yet, we've not discussed issues that are more difficult to prevent. Discrimination on the basis of race and gender. That's some 150 years since Sojourner Truth stomped into the women's suffragette movement saying, "Ain't I a woman?" African American women are hired for professional jobs, but at lower level jobs. They're paid less and discriminated against within the workplace. Ladies, we cannot address all of these concerns in a few minutes, but I am here to share a few tips from my own experience and that of others. How many of you know the history of the U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg? How many of you know her history? How many of you have read her book, A Notorious RBG? You have. One. Okay. Pick it up. It's interesting. She talks about being a white female in 1956, applying to law school, how she was told that you're taking the slot that belongs to a white male. So why should we admit you? And she talks about the difficulty in her journey to get to the point where she became a Supreme Court justice. And then in about 1980, a United Way agency, a United Way board sent a black man who I thought was a friend or a mentor to me to say, United Way agencies were not ready to hire a black woman as an executive director. Although my education, Bennett, A&T, and experience far exceeded that of the young white woman they hired. Neither RBG or GAR stopped, but we were propelled on. We heard, but we did not listen to stereotypes. We were bigger and more determined than people's opinions of us. Always be yourself. Express yourself. Have faith in yourself. Do not go out and look for a successful personality to duplicate it, said Bruce Lee. You are your own success story. Life isn't about finding yourself, it is about creating yourself, said George Bernard Shaw. I was a poor girl from Columbus, Georgia, who, with self-esteem and determination, created myself at Bennett College, surrounded by mentors and professors in an environment that declared, I can be what I want to be and I am who I say I am. I weighed 155 pounds at the age of 17 when I entered college, not like these nice little girls I see here. But at that time, that was pretty obese. But because Bennett required physical education daily, by December when I went home for Christmas, I weighed 128 pounds and my perm became an afro in 1968. I kept that weight off, or no more than 5 to 10 extra pounds until I was in my late 40s. Now, almost 30 years later, I struggle to get back to 155. How much you weigh does not define you, however. It certainly doesn't define me. But your health defines wellness and determines if you will be healthy enough to accomplish your life's goals. However, nothing worth having comes without a struggle. James 1:2-4 says, consider it pure joy when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith develops perseverance. Perseverance must finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. The journey begins with faith in God, and faith in yourself. Character cannot be developed in ease and quiet. Only through experience of trial and suffering can the soul be strengthened, ambition inspired, and success achieved, says Helen Keller. We must become the change we want to see, says who? Mahatma Gandhi. I know y'all know this. I know you've heard it. You're at A&T. Because we have experienced the discrimination, the struggles, and persevered, we have an obligation to lay a path for young women to come. We must pull up our sisters and our brothers, be their mentors, their strength, and their courage. Dream big, develop yourself, unleash your potential, improve your health, play well with others, play to your strength. Enjoy the process, share your unique gifts with the world, and grow your greatness by testing yourself, expanding yourself, learning and improving. All takes discipline. The price of discipline is far less than the pain of regret, says Nido Qubein, president of High Point University. And so I end with a Swedish proverb: fear less, hope more. Eat less, chew more. Whine less, breathe more. Talk less, say more. Hate less, love more. I add, doubtless, pray more and continuously, and good things will be yours. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gladys Robinson. We really do appreciate those words. How did you guys feel about that? Was that impactful? Did you guys get anything from that? Can we give a round of applause for Ms. Gladys Robinson? So our next upcoming.
We have a brief intermission. We have Tisha J's dance company coming, performing a piece called Little Black Girls. Coming up here, but you.
Little black girl, this is a song for you. In case the world is busy and forgets to sing to you, they've more important ships to sail, like building masts and saving whales, so they don't see that you're the real endangered species. Little black girl, can't always believe what you see. It doesn't mean you're dumb just 'cause no one smart looks like you on TV. That foul-mouthed lady on the news in her house shoes and colors isn't you, nor an indication one. When nowhere in your world is there a hint of validation. This is not political, it's personal. My empathy runs deep. 'Cause you see, it happened to me.
Let's give it up for Tisha J's dance company performing Little Black Girl one more time. And now we will introduce the 5 panelists for the evening.
Okay, so starting, our first panelist is Dr. Adrienne Pinkney. Dr. Adrienne Rochelle Pinkney is the founder of Be Well Live Consciously, an integrative wellness and life coaching service that offers individual coaching, group coaching, corporate training, wellness retreats, and motivational speaking. She inspires others to consciously create loving lives that work. Dr. Pinkney specializes in integrative wellness, mindfulness, career coaching, codependency, family and relationship issues, men and women of color, bullying, difficult teens, and body image and health. Dr. Pinkney has graduated from some of Georgia's finest schools, including Spelman College, the University of Georgia, and Emory University, where she completed her doctoral studies. She's an ambassador for the Integrative Wellness Academy and promotes whole life wellness to all. As a coach, she encourages conscious creation through conscious choice. Please welcome Dr. Adrienne Pinkney. And so as she comes down, we're going to go ahead and introduce Dr. Nanette Funderburk. Dr. Nanette S. Funderburk, PhD, is a psychotherapist and owner of the Social and Emotional Learning Group, PLLC, a counseling private practice in Greensboro, North Carolina. In this role, Dr. Funderburk provides counseling and training to individuals, groups, and organizations. She is a licensed professional counselor and licensed professional counselor supervisor. With degrees from University of North Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina A&T, and North Carolina State University. Dr. Funderburk assists individuals with overwhelming life problems, specifically emotional wellness problems, recognizing root emotional related to life issues, employing emotion management skills, responsible decision-making skills, and interpersonal relationship skills. Dr. Funderburk offers a range of services from individual therapy sessions to customized organization training sessions. Topics range from personal anxiety and depression to training on etiologies of mental health, diagnosis, conflict resolution, self-care for workers in high-stress environments, and much more. Please welcome Dr. Nanette Funderburk. Dr. Andrea Gentry. Originally from Columbus, Ohio, Dr. Andrea Gentry came to North Carolina A&T State University to gain her Bachelor's of Science in Animal Science. During her undergraduate career, she was inducted into the Alpha Mu chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. With her animal science degree, Dr. Gentry focused on food animal production, specifically on food safety and food security. This passion led her to North Carolina State College of Veterinary Medicine after graduation. After graduating with her doctorate of veterinary medicine, she went to Tuskegee College of Veterinary Medicine to complete a large animal internship. Now, Dr. Gentry is currently an assistant professor of animal science at North Carolina A&T. Here, she focuses on consumer education as well as the advancement of minority farmers. She holds several organizational titles, such as Vice President of North Carolina Association of Minority Veterinarians and board member for Guilford County Animal Services Board. Dr. Gentry continues to be active within the community through her membership with the Greensboro Alumni chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Her goals include the organizations and implementation of a nonprofit focusing on the education of middle school age children to animal agriculture. Please welcome Dr. Andrea Gentry. Dr. Maya Cornet. Dr. Cornet is an associate professor in the Department of Psychology at North Carolina A&T State University. She has a master's degree in child clinical psychology and a doctorate degree in social psychology from Virginia Commonwealth University. Dr. Cornet is the co-director of Collective Health and Education Equity Research, CHEER Collective. The CHEER Collective seeks to, 1, build knowledge and collective action plans to enhance Black wellness and educational opportunities. 2, identify strategies to dismantle structural inequalities. And 3, understand ways to build upon collective strengths in the Black community. Dr. Cornet's work has been funded by the National Science Foundation, the National Institutes of Mental Health, and the Center of AIDS Prevention Studies at the University of California, San Francisco. Dr. Cornet teaches courses on psychology of women, helping and healing skills, and social psychology. Please welcome Dr. Maya Cornet. Ms. Tisha J. Perry. Letitia Perry, born in Bronx, New York, and raised in Atlanta, Georgia, moved to North Carolina in 2007. Letitia graduated with her bachelor's degree in psychology in 2012 and her master's degree in adult education in 2014 from North Carolina A&T State University. In 2015, Letitia Perry founded the Educate Dancer Studio, which is a dance studio and after-school program for children in the Triad area. Her dance studio has been featured in magazines such as Essence, and quarterly she invites professional dancers to Greensboro, North Carolina to teach master classes and workshops. Letitia's motto is to help children find their purpose through her passion for education and dance. Please welcome Tisha J. Perry. How you guys doing? How you ladies doing? Good. Wonderful. I want to say again, thank you for coming and being panelists to speak to the students. Our main essence here in this segment is that we want the students to be able to receive as much information dealing in this realm in their life. You know, this phase is very overwhelming and it's hard. And like, you know, Kobe was saying, we have to trust our journey. And so I know you all have experience within those experiences and that you can give the students some feedback. So my first question to you guys is, what experiences have aligned your life with your professional work? So what experiences have aligned your life work with your professional work? If you want me to explain deeper, let's go. I'll do that.
I will start. This one work? So what life experiences have prepared me for my professional work? So I have been dancing all my life. And through dance, it's just like any other sport. So if you play basketball or football or softball or volleyball, you just learn a lot of aspects about working with people, pushing yourself when you're tired or not wanting to give up, or thinking about giving up when you shouldn't. And so those different experiences and emotions that I've dealt with physically and mentally have prepared me to deal with things even outside of the dance studio to running one, such as knowing how to talk to people, knowing how to push when I'm tired, knowing how to have balance. Because through the activities that I did in college, I still had to go to class. I still had to get a good grade so I could graduate. So those different essential points of things that I've had to do throughout being a part of a team or being affiliated with a team have crossed over to what I do professionally, because it helps me with working with people. And people are interesting, very interesting. And we have psychology folks up here, so we're very interesting. And so dealing with that has helped me the most with life experiences and professionalism.
So, what brought me to my current path, right?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had that right mentally. So, being a veterinarian, I can probably just say, oh, I love animals, and that would be a good enough answer. But to be honest, it was so much more than that. So much more than that. When I came to here, North Carolina A&T, I had never stepped foot on a farm. So if you remember my bio, I work with animals. I work directly with minority producers who are producing our food supply. And when I came here, I saw it as a challenge, because they said, as a female that stands 5'6", you can't work with a cow. You can't work with horses. You're too small, and you're a girl, and you're not strong enough. And so me being hard-headed and bullheaded, I said, I see you and I raise you one. And so when I left here, I said, dogs and cats, I can do that. That's boring to me. So as I set up my life and I set up my Boss Up initiative for myself, I said, I'm going to challenge myself always. I'm going to say, when someone tells me, no, I can't do that because I'm too small or I'm a girl, then I'm going to say, I see you and I raise you one, and watch me. So as I've matriculated, I've sought opportunities that challenge me. And now that I'm here at North Carolina A&T, teaching scared me. So I said, that's what I need to be doing. Being able to be at an institution that promotes my overall goals with supporting minority farmers and advancing their health as well as their animals' health became a niche I never thought I would fall into. And teaching scared me. Y'all are some students. Y'all scary. But, I saw it as a challenge, and I said, I see you and I raise you one. So that's how I got here.
Hello, again, my name is Dr. Pinkney, and I got here because I changed my life. I was a very good student, and I knew how to do school, so I went to school for a long time. My background is in education. I'm a teacher educator. I teach teachers how to teach children, and that's what I thought I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. Until I had to get honest about the fact that I personally was struggling with anxiety and insomnia. I was in toxic relationships, and you couldn't tell because I had lots of degrees on the wall, and I had a really nice condo on the 18th floor in Buckhead, and it looked really good. The truth of the matter was that I wasn't, and I had to really do a lot of work on myself and kind of go into some core issues, like if I'm laying with him, and he's crazy, then I'm crazy. And where did I learn how to make myself comfortable with crazy people? And then I had to go back to my mother, and I had to go back to my father, and I had to tell some radical truths about these beautiful, dysfunctional people. And so when I started to do that, and I got myself to a place where I was really genuinely well, like a happy black girl, like for real. And when I got myself there, I realized that I was supposed to be helping other people get there. And that is when I started to change my life. Well, I'd already changed my life, but that's when I started to change my career path, actually, and use my skills as a teacher to teach other things. So that's when I started my coaching company, and that's what I do. I support others in creating lives that work. And we start through radical truth-telling, so I am very much into the whole truth.
All right. Thanks. I'm Dr. Nanette Funderburk, and I think the experiences that have aligned my life work with my professional work, I would say I have to go back to my parents. I am, yes, I am a psychotherapist, and the area that I work in is mental health. People who, people come in who have mental health issues, and I diagnose them and treat them. So I think that, when I look back, that definitely started with my parents. Specifically, that area started with my father, because when I was in my master's program, I said, Daddy, did you realize I'm getting like the same degree that you got? And he's like, little girl? Yeah, I knew that. But it didn't dawn on me that I was doing exactly what he had done. Now, he never told me to follow in his footsteps, but I just kind of did because I was around him. Also, I'm not doing this currently, but I have taught here at A&T in the master's counseling program, and adjunct, that is, and I've taught adjunct on some other campuses here in the city as well. And when you know it, my mom is a teacher. Well, she's a retired teacher. They're both retired now. They are chilling. But I'm doing exactly what they did. Neither one of them told me to do their jobs. But being around them and both of them were helpers in different capacities, but both of them were helpers. Now, my mom taught mainly third grade, and my dad went more of the academic route with counseling, being that he was in higher ed in Fayetteville, at Fayetteville Tech. So, we went different routes, but under the same umbrella. So they were the impetus for the experiences that they provided me. I saw my mom taking my clothes to her kids at school, as a helper. I saw my mom doing her lesson plans on the weekend. I saw my dad, reading about Carl Jung, and I saw all the books on the bookshelf. So those were the things that became a part of my life. Again, they never told me to do it. It just kind of rubbed off. Okay, should do that. Okay. I'll take the last thing. There you go. Right. Beautiful. Okay. So, try to keep it short. We've heard about lots of life experiences and shaping who we are. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Cornet. I teach in the psychology department. I teach classes like psychology of women and Black psychology and helping and healing skills, which are all amazing classes to teach because it's all about getting to see this transformation process, right? And so for me, similar to what you've heard, big part of what shaped me was struggle, right? I remember being in a 7th grade science class and my teacher saying, smart women, that's an oxymoron. And when we didn't laugh, he said, oh, y'all can't take a joke, right? And so realizing that how easy it is for people to feel like they can beat up on your voice, right? And so now I'm happy I teach classes where it's really just about not accepting people's distorted ideas about ourselves and being grounded in our truth and creating our path for ourselves, right? And so I'm excited that I get to transform that pain into positive.
Thank you for that. And so I'm listening to you all, and I just want to give feedback in the midst so that dialogue is going. And so I want to touch on with what Dr. Andrea talked about, being hard-headed and bullheaded in your career path. So I feel like a lot of us women in our career have that issue where people tell us no. And then that no makes us become helpless. So what are some things encouraging to you every day that when someone tells you no, you can't milk the cow, you can't do this? What is it that keeps you going? Is it the people around you?
That's a loaded question. To be honest, when I first graduated, that bullheadedness was actually a weakness of mine because I took everything as a challenge. And I'm like, oh, just because they say no does not mean that says, oh, I see you and I raise you. So I had to learn how to dial back my bullheadedness. And my mom used to tell me all the time, Andrea, you are such a strong-willed person, but you need to learn where the power is. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we're, as Black women, we are saying, I am going to go do this. I am going to conquer this. And I'm going to do it by every means necessary. I don't care who's in my way. But we forget about the process and how we have to be uncomfortable before we become successful, and whatever that definition may be. So with myself, when I encourage myself to, one, not be as bullheaded, but still be that strong woman that says, I'm not going to tell you I can do it. I'm going to show you. It's a quiet movement. Instead of being loud and boisterous and making sure everybody sees me do it, I was very quiet in my actions. That way, when they looked up, they were like, wait a minute, you did what? And I liked the fact that when I walk onto farms, and this is just because it gives me a giggle, and a producer looks at me and he's like, you're coming to do what? You? Yes. Okay? Grab X animal, Y animal, let's get it done. And I don't have to say, well, why would you say that? Of course I can do it. Why would you wouldn't question if I was a male student. I don't have to do it. I just do it in a very quiet manner. And so I had to learn how to dial back my boisterous bullheadedness and learn that moving silently actually has a bigger impact over anyone that's around me, and learning how to portray myself in a manner of have people think, I don't think she can, and be shocked when I do.
Thank you. And so, speaking of strong women and being comfortable, my next question is people have identified the idea of a strong Black woman positively due to their resilience, and others have talked about their independence as a downfall. What are your thoughts about the idea of the strong Black woman or superwoman? Yeah, anyone, just ping pong if you want.
So of course, my thoughts about strong Black women. So first of all, how many of us know that Black women are amazing, right?
Every day.
We already know this, right? We know, of course, that Black women are brilliant, are creative, we're magic, all of these things, right? But we know that a lot of times this idea of strength gets flipped the wrong way. Right? So this idea of strength gets turned into, I don't need anybody to help me. I can do it by myself. I don't need anybody to see that I'm having a hard time. And so what we need is to redefine that strength into, I'm strong enough to be vulnerable. I'm strong enough to show you that I'm hurting and that I need help, right? And so we know that with the strong Black woman comes all these other mythologies, right? You can get mad at me later, but I think the idea of an independent woman, that's fiction, false, made up, right? None of us are that. We are all interdependent, right? I am because we are because I am. And what that means is we all know we are here in this place because of the sacrifice of somebody, because of the sacrifice of our ancestors, because of the sacrifice of somebody that co-signed a loan, somebody that is working extra hours, somebody that is doing something to make us possible. And we may not even know the ways that we have saved or helped somebody to be here, right? We may not ever learn about how interdependent we were with somebody else and how that transformed that difficult moment they were having where they were thinking about leaving school and you said or did something that changed their mind. And so that's interdependence. And so for me, it's really just about us transforming the ways that we think about these words that we use when we associate ourselves as strong, amazing, creative, interdependent Black women.
Thank you.
I wanted to add to what she was saying about that. I think it is really important for us also to recognize how Black girls are raised and socialized at home. And it's a lot of what often boys say that they experience. One of the young men shared earlier, men don't cry. For often Black children overall, I think we get a lot of socialization around like somebody pop you in your mouth and say, and you better not look like you think you want to cry.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you do it. Fix your face. Stop crying before I give you something to cry about. Y'all heard it, right? So that idea creates an emotionally unavailable, emotionally dishonest, and emotionally shut down person from their beginning. So then we have these adult women who don't know how to be vulnerable, how to show up vulnerably, how to cry, how to tell the truth, how to say, I'm not okay. Because we get these messages really early on, like, ain't nobody gonna take care of you but you. So be ready to take care of yourself. Have your rainy day account that you hide from him and don't tell nobody else about it just in case he leaves, because we're all preparing for trauma all the time. We're always in this a defense place, right? So Black women show up strong because we just ready to get hit. And a lot of that comes from how we were raised, like from the very beginning. And also, I feel like the society has created a situation where Black women are not to be seen by anybody. So when you think about, when you talk about Black people, you always got to go back to slavery, but you do. So, I mean, when you think about where we started, when we came to this country in chains, I feel like this is the point when many of us lost our minds. The experience of the Black woman is that she was, raped in the night. She got up, she picked cotton, she took care of children, she fed them and all of those things. And when she cried out, when she was being violated or when she was being hurt, nobody came. White women didn't come. Black men couldn't come. So Black women have learned to not cry out because we don't think nobody's coming, right? So, and that's so deep, like in our DNA. Like we really have to up-level this on a spiritual sense, like go down to the core of that. And I think Black men, they had their stuff too, but it matters and it shows up. I want to tell a quick story. It's going to take a second, but I went to this wellness retreat, and I'm always at these mindfulness stuff. I'm healing myself all the time. I mean, I got to go in there and work on some things. So I'm at this mindfulness retreat at Duke, and it is majority white. I often don't see us there, but we're kumbayaing it out and getting some great life skills, and it's great. And I met these two white women over lunch, and we're having this incredible conversation about wellness and doing our work, and we all start talking about our childhood experiences, and they all start talking about their moms. And I'm like, wait, your mom was like that? My mom was too, right? So I'm really connecting with these white women. I'm like, oh my God, we're sister friends. So this lady is telling me something really tragic that happened to her when she was young. And she was telling me my story. I had never in my life met someone who had this same experience. So my 12-year-old self, who thought she was the only one, was like, what? You too? And so I just asked the woman, I said, ma'am, do you mind if I give you a hug? And she said, no, I'll give you a hug. So she gives me a hug, and y'all, I fell apart. I mean, that 12-year-old, nobody had really hugged her, but me, I was working on her. But I mean, somebody was holding her. And so I'm falling, I am like weeping, like that one, over lunch at the mindfulness retreat. And they try to comfort me, and she rubs my back. Do you mind if I touch you? Okay. She rubs my back like this, and she says, oh my goodness, I just thought you were so strong. And I'm like, but you don't even know me. And there is this idea, and I put it, if I had been white and fell apart like that, would she have said that to me? If I had been Asian, because we just was swapping trauma stories. So what made her think that what was that painful for her, I was supposed to be strong enough to be okay with? What? And then when I played it back again, I had to say to myself, if this was some Black women would this have played out differently? And often I think they would have said something like, well, baby, just pray and just keep forgiving it and just keep. And so when it comes to that kind of like black women being vulnerable, I just don't think we're received very well by anybody, sometimes even ourselves. So I think that idea of like being strong and showing up like that is just learned like really, really deep in the core of who we are.
Thank you for that. I also want to add that, you know, when people come into my office, when black women come into my office in therapy, oftentimes, well, there are a lot of populations that don't come in like right when they need to. They come in not at problem 1, problem 2, they come in at problem like 15, 20, 30, you know, on after it's happened for a while, whatever it was for them. So I think that's another of our big downfalls, is that help is there. Many of us, even though, like Dr. Robinson mentioned earlier, we're not making the money that some counterparts of other races or opposite gender are making, but we are employed and we do have insurance, but we're not using it. I take insurance, you know, so you can come to me and just pay a copay. But, you know, oftentimes it's not until, I mean, I've worked a lot with physicians, and the physicians, they'll refer them to me. And it's like 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, sometimes down the road before they actually come in. Now, they're still paying on their insurance. So they're still putting out the money, but they're not taking the help that is out there. And some of that is because I'm supposed to be strong already. Some people will think it's a weakness that they're finally coming in. And it's not just women that do that. There are other pockets of populations that feel like, oh my gosh, I had to go to get a therapist. What's wrong with me? There are other pockets of people that think that too, but specifically black women are a part of that population. But I also think, you know, a strength of ours is that, you know, since we've had to be strong, yeah, we are strong. And there is resilience in what in the trauma that we've gone through, and I think trauma is an accurate word. So we just kind of have to get that mix right. We have to get the balance right. You know, nobody is going to do it by themselves. Interdependence is absolutely the word that we should be using. But, you know, the help is out there. It's just sometimes what we tell each other, because there are those people that are saying, oh, you don't need to go, you just need to pray. And I don't have any problem against prayer at all. My husband's a minister, and I'm a Christian, and strong Christian. I also know that I got training for a reason. So I'm going to stop now because I could go on and on.
No. Take your time. We have time. Go ahead.
No, I don't want to take up.
It's truly up to you guys. I was listening. I wanted to hear the next part.
Bottom line, I'm just saying, you know, we all got the training that we got, even if we're in different areas. Well, if I have an animal issue, I'll come to you. You know, we all got the training that we got for a reason. None of us, I don't know these women. I've never met them before, but I do know they didn't have it easy simply because, you know, we're here on planet Earth in America, and it's 2018. But assistance is out there. We just have to give ourselves permission to go get it, to go get the assistance, and we have to recognize that having an issue is kind of life. You know, if you have a problem, join the club. it doesn't say anything bad about you. It just says you can check the box called human. And it's okay if you come in for help.
So this was a moment that I thought was actually really embarrassing that happened to me last year. So I was sitting in a room full of the higher up ivory tower people in my college. And I sat there and they were telling me what I wasn't doing and how I needed to fix this and fix that. And it was on the verge of non-constructive criticism. It was on the verge. It was slightly constructive, but a lot of it wasn't. And all of a sudden, I felt these tears well up in my eyes. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to cry. They're not going to see me sweat. I'm not going to cry. All of a sudden, floodgates. Similar to what your experience was, floodgates. In front of all of these really important people that actually gave me a job and hired me to teach students and be a veterinarian. And I am bawling uncontrollably. It was so bad. And I'm sitting there and I'm trying to wipe my eyes and they're looking at me like, this woman nuts. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I have a lot going on. And I kept being extremely apologetic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. And I'm wiping my eyes and I got mascara all over the place. It was just a mess. It was horrible. And my nose snotted up. It was just really bad. And I couldn't stop. That was the problem. And I walked out of there. I literally stormed out of the room, stormed out of the building, ran back to my office, slammed the door. One of my very close coworkers came in to my office and she says, what's wrong? I heard about your incident. I said, oh, wow, now this is moving across campus at lightning fast speed, and I am going to have, there's going to be a banner. Like, I thought of all the possible scenarios, and I'm apologizing to her, saying, I am so sorry. I don't know what happened to me. I blamed it on everything. It's that time of the month. I blamed it on everything I could possibly imagine that would give me an excuse to break down. And so she sat there and just looked at me, and she says, what's wrong? And then I just dumped again. It was crying all over, and I was just dumping out what was going on, about how I was stressed, I was overwhelmed, and then I started apologizing again. And she stopped me. She said, stop apologizing for being vulnerable. Stop apologizing for having emotions. Stop apologizing for actually being yourself. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense. And so those embarrassing moments, luckily that hasn't happened again. But if it does, I'm more mentally prepared for it because I no longer have to apologize for emotions that I'm feeling. Yes. Should I have gotten to that point? No. But if it happens, we learn and we grow from it. And I was so busy apologizing that I was getting ready to miss the lesson in being that vulnerable Black woman who is supposed to be this strong, staple, statue, concrete. I hold everybody on my shoulders and I'm unapologetic about it. And I forgot about that. So don't worry if it happens. Believe me, it's been a whole lot worse.
Well, everybody up here have said amazing things, but there are just a few things that I want to mention that I think we should put at the top of our priority list. And I think one is loving ourselves. And if we don't quite know how to do that, seeking out the resources on how we can love ourselves, putting yourself around positive people that love themselves, taking sticky notes and putting nice quotes about yourself or what you want on your mirror, doing a vision board, being around people that are doing great things with themselves, that inspire and empower you. Because I think sometimes if you don't have that support there, or if that love wasn't poured on you, or whatever your story may be, the same priority that you put on making your best friend happy and making sure you don't miss their birthday or making your boo happy is the same type of priority you need to have for loving on yourself and making yourself happy. So that intrinsic motivation of, I want to feel good, I'm going to feel good. What do I have to do to make myself feel good today? What do I like? I don't know what I like. I need to learn myself. I think everything kind of starts with who we are. And we've touched on being vulnerable and things like that, but I just wanted to kind of scale it back on, do you know who you are? Do you know who you are? I went through a point where I didn't know who I was. I just know I love to dance. I'm going to dance practice because I love to dance and I'm good at dancing. So that's what I'm going to do. But it took different things to happen to me for me to say, okay, let me scale it back. Let me step out of the spotlight real quick. Who am I? I know my dance coach, we had this quote that said, who are you and why are you here? And I couldn't answer it. And of course, getting older and going through different things, you'll be able to find that answer. But just ask yourself that question and then try to find ways to find yourself. And I think once you know who you are and you're able to answer some of those questions and explore who you are, then you can become more comfortable with, yeah, I cried in front of people and I'm okay with it because I know who I am and I know what I do. I know what I'm capable of. But sometimes when we don't have that within ourselves, it makes all the other situations and responsibilities we have feel like that weight is on our shoulders, amidst other things that we have to deal with in life, period. But with anything on that note, I want us to spend more time on trying to find who we are and why we're here.
I just want to say one thing really quickly about, because I know this is an event for everybody, but for Black women. And one thing I really want to offer all the Black girls in this room is something that my counselor gave me, and I give it to everyone that I can. Give yourself permission to pull a white girl. And what does that mean, to pull a white girl? White girls cry all the time. They cry in meetings. They cry at movies. They cry if they think you about to say something that's going to hurt their feelings. And guess what happens when they cry? Everybody runs to take care of them. Are you okay? What do you need? Can I bring you some water? Oh my goodness, what did I say offended you? Did that offend you? Let me adjust myself because I can see your sensitivity, your need, your feelings. I can see you. I can see when I do stuff that don't make you feel good. Let me adjust. I really encourage you, Black girl, to show up that way. Let people know when they're offending you, when they're hurting your feelings, and not from the mad place. Black girls, we know how to be mad. And when you get mad, people automatically start defending and protecting themselves, right? Which is right in a lot of ways for them, because, I mean, you're letting them know harm might be coming. I'm pissed. But really, anger is the easier defense to hurt, right? So when you really show them, like, no, that hurts my feelings. I don't feel good about that. I can't do all this by myself. That. Show them that. And see if they respond to you. And the people who cannot respond to you, you've got some information. They can't see me. And the people who do respond to you, you got some information. They can. But you got to show up. And I think that's really, really important. And I think it's very important that those people in that meeting saw you cry like that, because there was something about their delivery that would invoke that in you. You weren't wrong. I mean, really, I think it's great that they saw that. And I think we need to show up like that a little bit more with a lot of people who have the idea that Black women can just take all the punches, all the things. That's not true. I cry all the time, don't I, baby? I do, all the time. And I encourage you all to give yourself permission to do the same.
Please.
I think one thing that we have not mentioned thus far is that, and specifically when talking about our things that are our downfalls, we as Black women are strong. We're phenomenal. We're all of these great things. And sometimes I think possibly because of what is thrown at us, we feel like there's only room for one of us, or maybe just one or two of us. So when another Black woman comes up, sometimes it's like, hey, who was she? See, y'all know what I'm talking about. And there is absolutely no need for that. Because if you know who you are, if they're coming at you and they're looking at you like that, I can't stop you from looking at me like that. I don't have any control over you. I have control over me and how I'm going to respond to what it is that you might be putting out. And I might recognize that you're throwing shade my way, but I don't have to throw it back. I don't have to throw it back, and I don't have to, try to blow out your candle in order to make mine burn brighter. So, my candle is bright all by itself, as is yours and yours. And all of our candles up here, all of these candles, they're bright all on their own. I I go to a boot camp usually every day, and they kick my butt. I mean, like sweat, like just pouring off of me, right? And they have these signs in there because it's a boot camp primarily for women. I mean, men do come, but it's primarily for women. And one of the signs says, and I'm sure you all have heard this before, it says, you can tell who the strong women are. They're the ones lifting others up. And how true is that statement? Mm-hmm. It's not even 100%. It's like 1,000% true, because I'm not hurting by helping you. I'm actually, if you grow, then I grow. Because many times when people see one of us, they kind of think they're seeing all of us. So if you look great, then that means I look great too. If I look great, that means you can look great too. But if you are out there not looking great, I think it's all of us. We're not all like the housewives of whatever, or the basketball wives, we're not all that. We're not all like that. I know that those women have some wonderful qualities to them, but that's not what's put on display. And so others will look at us, sometimes will look at us, how many degrees are up here, and think, we're like the women that were just catfighting on whatever show that we were just watching. And that doesn't have to be us. For many of us, it's just not us. I don't have ill will towards other women. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard some women say, "Oh, I don't get along with women." I get along with women just fine. I get along with men fine. I get along with people. So it's really about, let's put the control where you have control, and who can you control? That wasn't hypothetical. Who can you control? And yourself, and that's it. Mm-hmm. So if you show up correctly, I don't have control over what these other people do, or specifically, since we're talking about black women, I don't have control over what the other black women do. I have control over me. So if I'm going to check somebody, it's going to be me first.
Thank you so much. And I want to say I was hearing some really good points from all of you. I just have to say one of the main things that really stuck out was the emotional dishonest. And I think a lot of times, completely, me personally, dishonest with myself all the time. I go through these life trials and tribulations, and at the end of each fail, I'm like, you're fine. Just keep going. But I never gave myself the time to just say, cry and be vulnerable with just myself, not even with the group of people. And I mean, how many people have ever felt that feeling ever? Please, I need help. So my next question, it's the last question. It takes up all the questions. As far as optimal wellness, and then dealing with your radical truth, what are the steps in our lives now that we must take in order to maintain that optimal wellness and that radical truth with ourselves? I know I'm kind of going off the book.
I always, the word just slipped out of my head. I always, encourage, that's not what I was thinking, but I always encourage people to think of or keep these 4 areas in your mind. And that is bio, psycho, social, spiritual. Bio, psycho, social, spiritual. So bio is the biology of things. Check, are you eating? Are you going to the bathroom? There's sometimes I look up and before I started my boot camp, because they had me drinking a gallon of water a day. So I was about to say, there were some times that I would look up and it's 3 o'clock and I hadn't been to the bathroom, but drinking a gallon of water, I'm going to the bathroom. Are you going to are you allowing yourself the time to take 5 minutes to go take care of your body? Are you sleeping? Are you eating? And sleep is a huge huge one. Sometimes, I think that since we can technically be on 24/7, sometimes we think we should be on 24/7, like we're going to miss something, the world's going to pass us by or something like that. And we don't have to be on 24/7. We need to sleep. Sleep and water are magic pills. Those are the magic pills. If you want to change your life for the better and you're not sure where to start, drink water and go to sleep. That's not a stretch. I'm being very serious. So that's the bio. Psychological. Check. Think about what you're thinking about. Every thought that comes into your mind does not get to stay there. A thought can pop up from anything. A scent can remind you of something. A billboard can remind you of something. A person you see can remind you of somebody from way back in the day. But just because a thought pops up, it doesn't mean it gets to stay in your mind. And then the next thing that people will say is, well, how do I just have all these thoughts. They just keep coming. But it's your mind, right? If you can't control your mind, y'all see where I'm going? Who can? So I'm not saying it's the easiest thing. You might need practice at this. Because a lot of times we do just get used to, just kind of floating along with whatever pops in. But we have to check that. And there are methods that you can use to say, you know what, I don't choose to think about that right now. So this is a little pro tip for you. Instead of telling yourself what not to think about, don't do that. That doesn't work. So let's just use the example of you're trying to forget that ex. Don't say, don't think about him, don't think about her. Don't say that. Because as soon as you say, don't think about him, don't think about her, what did you just do? You brought him or her up. It's like if I tell you, don't think about pink elephants right now. What'd you just see floating through your head? Pink elephants. So tell yourself what to think about. So sometimes I remember when I was growing up, and sometimes I would just have these, I don't know where these dreams came from. I still don't, to this day, I need to talk to my own therapist about it. FYI, did you know I have a therapist? The therapist has a therapist. Just thought I'd mention that. But I used to have these dreams, like nightmares about fire. And so I would wake up and it was like, okay, I don't want to go back to sleep. So I had to tell myself what to think about. So I was in a show choir at the time. Yes, I was, and I was good too. And so I would go over in my head, our routines in my head. And so I'd be thinking, dun, 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 dun. Now I'm laying there in the bed, like this, but it feels like my whole body is into it. And next thing I know, I had drifted off. I told myself what to think about, and what I told myself to think about was much calmer, much more peaceful, brought me much more joy than the dream that I had just had. So I was able to go back to sleep and not fall back into that dream because I took control of my thoughts. I told myself what to do. So bio, psycho, social. We have to be connected to people. If we are not connected to people, we don't survive very long. You Google the babies in the Romanian orphanages. So some of you know about them. Those of you who don't, Google the babies in the Romanian orphanages. These babies had people who took care of them. They were fed, they were clothed, they were warm, all of the basics, but they didn't have people to just say, oh, you're so cute. Oh, they didn't get that skin time. And those babies, there were longitudinal studies done on them, and they had, varying states of malaise. Some of them did okay, but there were others that, had interpersonal issues. Some of them had health issues. But the only difference between those babies and the babies that were in the control group was they didn't get that social piece. They didn't get the lovey-doveys from everybody. They needed people connection. If we don't have people connection, we start to kind of shrink away. So that's bio, psycho, social, spiritual. I'm not going to tell you what to believe, but you do need to believe in something that's bigger than you. Because when life hits you and you feel like, oh my gosh, I've given my everything, then what? Then what are you going to do? You need something bigger than you to rely on, and that is that spiritual piece. Okay.
I would say learn how to say no, which is something I'm still working on. But I've learned here in the past year that as women, we take on a lot. Okay. And we continue to seek this work life or work school balance, but we forget a integral piece of achieving that, and is learning how to say no. So if you realize, like, for example, my boss asked me the other day, he was like, hey, I want you to be the liaison for something crazy. I can't remember. And I remember I sat there and I was like, oh, no. And he was like, what do you mean no? And I was like, I also have da-da-da, 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 da-da. And I started listening to things. He was like, okay. Say no and be unapologetic about it. It is okay not to be able to do everything. If you know you can't add on one more thing to your life, there is no such thing as multitasking. I had to learn that the hard way. Okay? Because if you multitask, something is going to get neglected. In vet school, I worked 24/7. When I did my internship, I was on call 24/7 for an entire 365 days. I counted them. And I thought I was going to go nuts because at that point in time, I couldn't say no, or what I thought I couldn't say no. So I know what it's like to be on 48 hours and saying, I need just a 2-hour nap in order to hit reset. That sleep and water thing is like heaven when you haven't had it. So understand your boundaries, understand what you can and cannot take on, because if you take on one more thing, something has to sacrifice. You have 100% of yourself. If you're already giving 100% to something else, you can't give any more than 100%. There is no such thing as 110% effort, as long as you're giving a true 100% to one thing. Something has to give.
Can you ask the question one more time?
Okay, so basically, when you said radical truth and going through the tribulations that we are going through now, I think a lot of us, including myself, do not face the radical truth or say that I'm dishonest to myself. And so what I was asking is, what are some steps that we now can take to help us with that wellness?
I hope to be eventually sitting down and writing this book called Breaking the Black Girl Rules. So I would actually say break the rules. Break all the rules that you were given early on that do not serve your highest good. The ones like what goes on in this house stays in this house. Break it. Tell the truth about what happened to you and who they really were and how it affected you. You don't have to save them, save yourself. Really, seriously, it matters. The better off that you are to yourself, you are so much more equipped to be able to save, help, serve others. Get yourself together. So I would say, break the rules. What goes on in this house stays in this house. Don't get your hair wet. Wet, black girl. Wet, swim, do it all. Break that one. Break the other rules, and you better not cry. Cry. What are some of the other ones? Break the rule. Work with them, girl. You just got to work with them, girl. Where black women learn that we have to accept less or be totally responsible for the uplift of black men, even if that means that we put ourselves in harm's way. Break it. Let them come ready. You don't got to do that. There's about 10 more in the book that will be coming out one day when I sit my butt down to write it. But if there's anything that I could say about truth-telling and being well and all that kind of stuff, I think for us to be able to do that, we have to really break patterns from some people who gave us some stuff that is not going to serve your highest good. So it's going to possibly offend your grandma and make your mama very uncomfortable. But I encourage you to do it anyway, because you'll sleep better than she did. And you'll laugh more than she did. Seriously. And you deserve that. And get it unapologetically.
Will anyone else like to add on that note? Okay. Okay, thank you so much, ladies. We really do appreciate you coming out and supporting the Boss Up Initiative. We definitely feel like you have fed us some great information. I'm ready to boss up. I'm gonna sleep and drink water more and tell my professors that too. So thank you, ladies, and thank you all.
Okay, so what we want to do right now is open up the floor for 3 questions. So if anyone would like to lead us off, there you go.
After everything that you guys have been through growing up in, of course, with the age that you are now and all the wisdom that you have gained, how do you guys value friendship at this point in your life?
It's integral. I have to have it. And I have to have solid, healthy friendships. There are some friends that I've had from back home. We all have that friend, especially a male friend. I'm gonna pick on y'all for a little bit. That wanted to be a rapper in high school. Said they were gonna be a rapper. Was always gonna be a rapper. And never became a rapper. And you're like, okay. And then you see him when you come home from school or come home from work, whatever. And he's still trying to be a rapper. And you're like, I need new friends. Okay? Not necessarily new friends. I learned how to value friendships differently. Where I could still be friends with him. I could still motivate and challenge him to get that mixtape or to get a job. Okay? As well as understand that he brings joy and mindless conversation. Especially in a STEM field, I think constantly. So having those friends I can be intellectually stimulated by, as well as having those friends that are just easy, that I can laugh, I can joke, I can have fun with, I can go out to dinner, we don't have to talk work, we can talk ratchet TV and wine. That's what I need. And so I've learned how to put my friends in specific categories, not to say they never can cross paths or we all can't hang out together. I need certain people for certain things. And I make sure in my friendships, talking about living that radical truth, I've told them, especially if they cross that boundary, as a friend, I need you for this. And I hope that you need me for something as well. This isn't a take relationship. I'm not going to continue to allow you to just absorb all of my drama all the time. But I want you to be able to get something from me. So finding those friendships, I don't consider myself successful, to be honest. But I wouldn't be as successful or be where I am currently without, and that goes into that, I'm going to say interdisciplinary, I got that right?
Interdependent.
Dependent. Oh, I was so excited. Okay. Interdependent. I was so excited to use that word. Okay. So I just need to stay out of the psychology vocabulary book. And I'm just going to stick to all of my crazy other medical terms other than that. But I need that communication. I need that connection with other people.
Friendships are relationships. Did you say that too, girl? Yes, they are. Friendships are relationships. And you said you're a senior in college, so I'm sure you've gone through having some great friendships, having some bad ones. Somebody said something and you heard it. All those different things. I think I'm going to go back to the self moment. And I do think having friends or having close relationships with women specifically is a great thing to have because, we evolve so much from, our bodies transforming, becoming wives, becoming mothers, just so many different things that we go through. And so being able to have those type of journeys or experiences with other women, learning from other women, hearing about mistakes that, people close to you or good decisions that people made. I think that's the great part about friends or having friendships. But specifically when it comes to that, you have to be mindful and trust yourself in who you allow in your space. You have to be selfish just a bit. Just you wouldn't date anybody, right? So anybody shouldn't be able to be your friend. And that's how I feel about the women that I have around me. And with friendships, you should treat them just like that. And it's okay if you lose some, and it doesn't have to be bad blood. Maybe we were just supposed to be friends for this season. I had fun with you. I learned this and we did that, and now that's it. And when I see you, I'm going to give you a hug, but I'm going to keep walking because you are not going where I need to go and the people that I need to have around me. Was that a word? So, I don't think you'll ever get that perfect, this is a friendship, you know? Like, I have friends that we fall out, but then I'll think, okay, is this something worth fighting for? Was this just a bad one, but we can get through it? You know, you got to think about it. Some fallouts, it needed to fall, and I'm glad it did. And like I said, when I see you, I'll hug you, but I'm going to keep on walking because I don't have anything else to say to you. And that's okay. And I think you being a senior and getting ready to graduate, and I don't know what you have planned afterwards, if you'll still be here or if you move, be open to also meeting new people. I know, what was that song Drake had? No new friends? Lies. Okay, I will go anywhere and make a friend because I like to meet people and I like to be around people. And just because I didn't grow with you from when I was 6 doesn't mean that we can't be friends. So with the transition that you're about to experience in life, I want you to be open to meeting new people and keeping those great friendships because you never know what you'll get from them. And then also just being true to yourself and to your gut. And the more you learn about you, you learn about what you can tolerate from a friend and what you can't. So I hope that was helpful.
Okay, so question number 2. No one has any questions at all? Okay.
Hey everybody, my name is Shay. I'm actually an alumna of A&T, Aggie Pride. I graduated 2016. And I'm an intern for Dr. Adrian Pinkney with Be Well Live Consciously. So one of my questions is something that I actually dealt with while I was here at A&T, depression. So how do you guys, what do you think you guys, like students, women specifically, dealing with depression in college, what should they do? How should they go about it? Of course, it affects academics, social.
Let's go, right? College is really lonely. Like, it's really, really lonely. A lot of people think that, we're so connected. There are all these people, there are all these parties. I have roommates, I have friends. It can be a very, very lonely experience, especially for a lot of us as children of color because we're dealing with stuff at home and in school, right? So often, if our parents haven't attended college, they don't know that I shouldn't be calling you with the mess that's going on with the house because you are already stressed. So many of us are doubly stressed. We stress about exams and my mama calling me about what's going on in the house. And I just got my refund check and she asked me for some of my money. Like, this is some real stuff for us as college students who are still trying to see what's going on with our little brothers and little sisters at home. So I think the rates of depression amongst us as people of color trying to go to school is high. I think it's so high, it's undiagnosed because we all kind of depressed. So it's really hard to see and name it because it's everywhere. So I think that, because I was depressed in college. That's when I started going to counseling, actually, when I was 19 years old. It's the first time I sat on somebody's couch and have been on somebody's couch ever since. Amen. So all that to say, I think that, really naming that and normalizing it and creating more spaces in colleges for more language around it, and being able to recognize it more. I know some of us have roommates who are always in the bed. She's still laying down, right? And not recognizing that that's not a nap no more. Like, that's something else, So I think college is really offering more seminars and making more awareness for the students to be able to support themselves and each other, and of course offering more services. But I don't even know what your question was, Shay. I'm sorry. Okay, pray about it. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. No, seriously, use the services in place and get some support.
And I wanted to add quickly, to treat it the way you would treat anything else that happened to your body. So if you think about what you would do if you just walked out of here, you twisted your ankle, you go home, you're like, oh, my ankle hurts still a little bit. And then you wake up 2 to 3 weeks later and you're like, my ankle still hurts. What would we do? We would go to a doctor. We would go find out about our ankle. And so we need to treat our mental health the exact same way. If I'm still hurting and it's been weeks, and like we already heard, hurting can look a lot of different ways. It can look like sleeping all the time. It can look like being really cranky and irritable and snapping at people all the time and not understanding why we're doing that, right? But if you're still hurting the same way, if your ankle still hurts, if you're still hurting mentally, go and find out what it is, right? So that it doesn't get to the point where it's affecting your grades, you haven't been to class in months, all those sorts of things that you have to take care of in college. Go and find out what it is. Go and seek help.
Yes, amen and amen. Just one quick thing that I would add is that depression, I always say that depression and anxiety, I'm putting those two together because they're kind of cousins. Usually when you see one, there's some semblance of the other around. Depression and anxiety are the common colds of mental health. So, how often have you gotten a cold in your lifetime? It can exist on a spectrum. You can be mildly depressed or you can be severely depressed with psychosis. So, meaning you are seeing little green men that are not really there. Depression can carry you there. But typically the depression that we're seeing on a campus like this, it's very functional. These students are still going to class, they're still participating in X, Y, and Z things. They're just not feeling it quite the same way that they used to. So if you don't remember anything else, at least that I've said, anxiety and depression are the common colds of mental health.
I'll add one quick thing. So in the veterinary health profession, we have a lot of issues, a lot of mental health issues. We're probably I think we're the top 3 for suicide rates. That's just how bad veterinarians are because we don't know how to take care of ourselves. So in vet school, we had a lot centered around mindfulness, around mental health. And we actually had a counselor on staff or on faculty in the vet school to help us with this. And she told us one thing that stuck with me and I still use it. She said, HALT, HALT. Are you hungry, angry, lonely, and tired? That is not something you can work through. It won't pass. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. And even if you only meet one of the 4, you need to stop before you reach all 4. And so now if I'm in the office and I'm there till like 8, 9 o'clock working on whatever, or in a clinic and I have a patient or a client who's driving me absolutely nuts, if I feel as though I'm hungry, have I eaten today? Am I angry? Yep, they pissed me off. Am I lonely? I probably am because I haven't slept. Am I tired? Oh, yes, I'm a professional. I'm always tired. That's not okay. And learning how to stop yourself before you get to all 4. So next time, because when I was in college, I don't think I was going through depression, but I'm sure there were some depression type moments for me, but I never, for example, some of the students I've taken more to say, I will walk with you to counseling services than I ever thought I would, because I can't help you. I know how to get you help. I know when, I don't really know when, but I know how to get you help before it gets to a point. And I will tell my students all the time, think about HALT. Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Okay, so
Thank you. How do you know when you're putting too much on your plate? I will liken that to let's think of our plate at Thanksgiving dinner. You got a little bit of everything. You've gone down the whole line, and your plate is full. And then you're like, they're the rolls. I got to get some of those yeast rolls or biscuits or whatever the bread is. And you go to get it and put it on your plate, but there's no room. And you try to put it on there, but there's no room. And you put it up there, and then it kind of rolls off. There's too much on the plate. So think of your mind that way. When you recognize that, you've got your classes, you've got your one or two, hopefully not too many more than two extracurricular activities. So those are the things that are kind of the staples in your life. And then you recognize that you start forgetting like some basic stuff. That's a little hint and a half for you that you might want to check yourself before you wreck it, because it can happen quicker than you think. And then you look up and it's like, oh my gosh, I've walked out of the house and I've got on like one blue shoe and one black shoe. How did that happen? Because you weren't paying attention. You were thinking too far ahead versus being present in the moment, which is what mindfulness talks about, being in this moment, not in the future, which is a piece of anxiety. So you try to live there too long, and you're going to carry yourself right on into generalized anxiety disorder. That's what I would say. When you start to recognize that stuff's falling off your plate, but it's stuff that really should not be falling off your plate, something needs to change.
I actually have to step away from the panel in a second because I teach an online class and I'm running late. So I want to tell you guys really quickly a little bit about what I think about help thinking. So it seems like you identify yourself as a helper and it's something you really like to do. And I think that that's a superpower, right? And I don't know if you all have ever seen Superman before, but when Superman first discovers that he's Superman, it's like the spider webs are like controlling him, right? Like he doesn't know when to make them come out and he's just like a mess. I'm an empath. I can see people and hear people differently. And that used to run my life. Anytime somebody was sad, I wanted to help. Anytime somebody was going through something, it made me, want to move towards them because I didn't know how to use what I had yet. So I encourage you to recognize your gift as a gift and to protect it in the sense that you can make conscious choices to see people who need help and not help them. I can make conscious choices to see someone who's sad and crying and needs some emotional support and trust God in the universe enough that somebody somewhere will help her or she will get the help that she needs for herself. But I don't have that to offer her today, and I can keep walking. I can say a quick prayer, say, God, I know you got that, and go do what I was going to go do. And I really encourage you to identify that gift that you have and protect your own gift so that it don't run you, but that you are consciously running what you've got. Don't help everybody. You don't have to. Okay. Give yourself permission.
Well, once again, we want to say thank you to the panel. Let's give it up for them one more time. Okay, we want to call up Alexis Roach for our final remarks.
All right, let's give a round of applause to all our panelists today. And I just want to say thank you, everyone, for coming to this program, our very first program today for the Boss Up Initiative. On behalf of myself and the E-Board, we really appreciate you guys taking the time out, especially with, 100 million things going on this campus right now. And, thank you panelists for coming, taking the time out to come speak to everyone that's here today, and just kind of giving a great word. And I really hope that everybody has really taken in all of this information, because we're students, we go through a lot, and your mental health, physical health, and your well-being is very important. It's very, very important. And I'm not sure if we're going to do the presentations of everybody's gifts right now. I don't know where. Okay, all right, we're going to do everybody's presentation of gifts real quick. Presentation of gifts. So each panelist will be getting a small little journal with a Boss Up sticker added onto it. They will also be getting a Boss Up t-shirt with our I don't even know what to call it. What's the words? Our motivate, impact, and evolve words. I forgot what the word is called. And we just really appreciate you guys coming out and just taking the time out to be with us today. Thank you. Also, we'll be passing out a small evaluation for all the guests here today. If you guys could fill that out really quickly and pass it to any e-board member with a blue shirt, Bossed Up shirt on, that would be great as well. And one more thing before we finish up today. On behalf of the Boss Up e-board to Miss Kiana Rogers, she's passing out the gifts right now, we have presented her a small token of flowers for all of the work she has done. Literally, guys, this girl has worked her butt off. Like, worked her butt off. I've known this girl since 7th grade. I've never seen her work this much before. Key, don't be crying. Where are you going? But on behalf of the e-board, we really appreciate you, Key, for all that you've done and always included us in everything that you do, even though sometimes we don't always contribute like we should. We just thank you for doing this and thinking about your HBCU students and your colleagues and wanting to actually reach out to your university and giving back. So these flowers are for you whenever you finish. Also, another note, our next program will be next Wednesday, March 21st. Our guest keynote speaker will be Miss Duchess from VH1. And we would like to see you guys all again come to that program. Same place, same time, just different speakers. All right, and thank you, everyone. And we hope you guys enjoyed the program. Thank you for coming. Oh, refreshments are also outside.